Hi, this is Arthur Carmazzi and welcome to Agents of Change. Today we have a little bit of a more serious version of Agents of Change. Yesterday I was talking to my son Dante and we were talking about history and we were talking about villains, and Hitler came up and he asked me a very good and interesting question. He said, was Hitler bad as a child? Or what made him bad? When did Hitler become bad? And I thought, wow, think about that. That is an interesting question. What really determines the destiny of somebody who's achieved greatness, or of someone who has literally been condemned as the most evil human being on earth? And so what we create in our destiny has to start somewhere, doesn't it? And so I started to do a little bit of research. It turns out that Hitler, when he was a young boy, all he wanted to do was be a painter. And he practiced a lot. He tried to get into all these different schools, and his father didn't really agree with that. His father basically sent him to a different school and said, no, you're not going to be a painter, and that was the end of it. Well, anyway, his father died later on, and they didn't really have a very good relationship because of that situation. And so Hitler goes off to Vienna to be a bohemian painter. And he's on the streets, he's painting a whole bunch of stuff, selling his paintings, and then his mom dies. And that kind of cut off the rest of the funding that he had to kind of really have a reasonable living. So he ended up being a little bit homeless during that time. And so here's this guy, he's in Vienna, and at that time in Vienna, it was full of religious prejudice and racism. Even the mayor at that time, Karl Lueger, was really focusing on the anti-Semitism because that's what the people wanted to hear. It was a political gain. It was a way for him to basically, be the guy that is saying the right things for the people. And so they had to blame somebody for all the problems, right? So what ended up happening, of course, here's Hitler. He's, in this environment constantly. And then, of course, he's, as a lot of the youth in that time, from Austria started to, become more German-centered, patriotic. And so anyway, he joins the German army for World War I, and he's in there, and he's really proud to be part of the German army and everything that goes on in there. And then Germany loses, and according to his perspective and in the perspective of some of the other guys in the army, what ended up happening was that they were betrayed by civilian leaders and the Marxists. Somebody else to blame. It had to be, couldn't have been something that they did. It had to be somebody else's fault. So they later branded these as the November criminals. And so what ended up happening is that as Hitler starts to develop his career, he goes into the army, then he stays in the army because he's not going to be a painter anymore. He's kind of given up on that. His dream is dead when it came to painting. So he stays in the army, and now he goes and he is part of this group that is supposed to get people involved in the DAP, the German Workers' Party. And so that was run by this guy named Anton Kessler. And Anton Kessler, he had all this idealism about anti-Semitism, anti-Marxism, anti-everything. Basically, everybody was wrong. And during that time, of course, there was this whole economic problems going on in Germany and all these, people going on. And basically, when Hitler took power, it was because he just blamed everybody else for the problems that they all had. And you know what? They were just so ready to just believe in something that it's not our fault. And people, for some reason, we tend to want to blame something else for our issues, for our lives. And this is why we also tend to read the newspapers. You notice how the newspapers have lots and lots and lots of bad news in them? Why don't they publish good news? Because it doesn't sell. And so what does this mean? What does this all mean to the grand scope of business success, of creating better organizational culture, about raising kids? What does it mean? Think about it. The environment that you are setting up in your organization, for your children, in your relationship, what are you focusing on? Are you looking at all the things, we're like this because you did that, or we're like this because these people did that, or, are we literally looking for other people to take the blame for issues that we have? And has that ever helped us to really solve any problems? Do we surround ourselves with bad news? Do we surround ourselves with people that have ideologies that are not supporting our success? Do we surround ourselves with negativity that literally create this whole negative environment and negative perception of the way that we see people and we see the world? What kind of an environment are you creating in your business? What kind of an environment are you creating for your kids? What kind of an environment are you creating for your relationships? So, to answer Dante's question, when did Hitler go bad? He went bad when he gave up on his dreams. When he let the environment of prejudice and racism around him suck him into it. When he blamed everyone else for the things that he could not achieve or the things that didn't happen in the way he thought they should. If we take what happens and own it, instead of being the victims, we have control to fix it. But the moment that we become the victim, that control is gone. Ever. It's finished. Because we've given it away to somebody else. So I want you to think about the kind of an environment that you need for your success. Success in business, success in your teams, success in your organization, success in your relationships, and success in bringing up your children to see the world with beauty, to see the world as full of possibilities and wonder, and not to see it for what they can't do. Who are you going to create in your environment? What kind of people? What kind of perceptions? What kind of vision? This is Arthur Carmazzi wishing you great success.
Are you gonna wear that?
Well, yeah. Anyway, you're going to shoot it from the top anyway. It doesn't matter, right?
Oh my gosh. It's fine. Okay.
Was run by this other guy named Anton... What? Kressler? Here, I'm going to stand here like this because we can still fix that. Kessler. Kessler. Yeah, that's it. Anton Kessler. Okay. Please don't leave me out in the rain. Share this with everyone. Make comments. Okay? Leave all sorts of questions that you have so that we can answer them in the next videos. And make sure, of course, you tell everybody about this. And don't forget hashtag Agents of Change and hashtag Arthur Carmazzi. With that, again, I wish you great success and change the world in the process.